Good afternoon. Today we are going to see the sheet number 4 of design of steel structures. Now, whatever we have in three sheet, we are going to divide into four parts and then we are going to plot it. The same we are in this also. So in this, if we will see, we have first part of this, we have sections of flexural member. So we have seen tension members, we have seen compression member, and third we have that is flexural members. Then we have laterally supported and laterally unsupported members. This will be second part. Then we have web buckling, and sorry, this is web crippling. So web buckling and web crippling. This will be third part, and fourth part we have eccentric connection. So we have to go with these four parts: one, two, three, and four. Now in this first we will go for cross sections for flexural members. So we have generally these beam sections we are going to prefer when we will talk about flexural members. So we have beams only, that is rolled section. Then we have beam section with plates. Then we have belt up section. So we have this generally we are using for gantry girders, where we have beam and channel section. Then we may have beam. This will be with plates top and bottom. We may have welded plate girder. So likewise we have different sections, but preferred section we have, that is I section, when we will talk about flexure member. If load is very low, then we can go this road section, that is circular section. Then we have rectangular or square sections, so when load is very low. So this is first part which we have to draw in our sheet number 4. Then we have second part, laterally supported and laterally unsupported. I can say this laterally supported and laterally unsupported beams. Now in this first we have, that is what is mean by this laterally supported beam. So this is given in clause number 8.2.1. A beam may be assumed to be adequately supported at the support provided. This is the most important one. The compression flange has full lateral restraints, means we are not allowing compression flange to deform laterally. And if it is not deforming laterally, we have given provisions to give lateral restraint of compression flange. Then beams are known as laterally supported beams. Otherwise, that beams are known as laterally unsupported. So if we have simple section, I section, then we have this as laterally unsupported beam. And now here you can see we have this beam, we have flange that is in slab. So we have, this is slab one, and your uh, compression flange of this beam is monolithic with your slab. So we are going to restrict its lateral restraint. Here you are going to get lateral restraint, that it will deform laterally, that is along the length of the member. And here we are going to restrict it, and therefore this is laterally supported. So you can have another in this fashion. We have this beam flange, and above this we have this slab, and we are going to make monolithic connection between the two by using shear connectors. And then if we have shear connectors, then that is laterally supported. And first already I mentioned this is laterally unsupported, and these two are laterally supported, where their compression flange is prevented to deform laterally, or we can say we have full restraint for compression flange for deformation. And so this is second part of your sheet number 4. Then we need not require to write down all this, so you can write down it, that is clause number 8.2.1. This is also more than sufficient. Then we can have third, web buckling and web crippling. So now we have web buckling. Let us, we have this beam, and we have on this beam we have concentrated load which is acting here. Now we have I section, and this dimension is very less, so will be considered as concentrated load, or you can see this is in small portion, acts as uniformly distributed load. Now when we are in this fashion, so here it is mentioned load carrying web stiffener should be provided where compressive forces, so that we need not require to see. Here we have to see the effective length of web for evaluating the slenderness ratio is calculated in 8.7.1.5. So here also you can write in bracket clause number we have 8.7.3.1, and then we can have, here you can see, so detail we will see when we will go to flexural members, where you can see N1 dispersion of the load through the web at 45 degree to the level of half the depth of the cross section. So you can see this half the depth of the cross section. What will be angle 45 degree? So we are going to get this as B1 plus 2N1. This also you have to write down over here, and then we have this dimension as B1. And then from this you can see we are going to get these two, these are going to be N1, and N1 we are going to get it as half the depth, that is h by 2, because we have angle 45 and this is at neutral axis, and then we are going to get in this way if we have rolled section over there. Now at end also we are going to be reaction, and that is on some length, so it can be considered as uniformly, and here also we are going to get as value that is 45 degree. Now here you can see you have again this width will be B2, and then we have this as N1. And then we are going to get this total as B2 plus N1. So here we have on one side only if we will go to the supports. And so likewise we have to go for the web buckling. So this is web buckling clause number 8.7.3.1. Now then we can see this. So buckle, we have buckling at neutral axis, and therefore we are going to consider this width that is at neutral axis. Then we can have second, that is web crippling, and in this web crippling we have again in the same fashion, so we have this beam, and now how we are going to transfer this load and where, that is most important. So you can see this. So I will just rub this portion, and then we can have this bearing stiffener should be provided for webs where forces applied through a flange by loads or reactions exceeding the load capacity of the web at its connection. So to the flange. So FWB1 stiff bearing length, and to length obtained by dispersion through the flange to the web junction at a slope of 1 is to 2.5 to the plane of the flange, and TW is thickness of the web, and FYW we have yield stress of the web. So we are going to be with this. So this angle we are going to be 1 in 2.5, and then we have to find actually this value at the junction where our root of radius is going to be completed. So we have this will be B plus N2, that is after just after root of radius. So we have this as thickness of flange plus root of radius. So at the junction of flange and web we have to find this value, and this will be B plus N2. Slope we have 1 in 2.5. This is my web crippling, and you have seen the clause number we have 8.7.4. So you can write over here clause number 8.7.4. So this is third part of your sheet, and then we have last part. So here you can see this is at the junction where my root of radius that completes. Then we have next, that is eccentric connection. So eccentric connection we are going to say where I have been column. So we have this as column, and then on this column we are going to attach some bracket. So this is bracket. Why we are going to attach this bracket? So here you may have welded plate girder, or you may have gantry girder on which your crane runs, and for this one we require this bracket. And then you can see this. So we have P load at a distance E from the center of the bolt. So we have P into E. So two values we will get if we will find equivalent force. Then we have this will be P as it is, and P into E will be my moment. And we have to design these bolts for this equivalent force P and moment P into E. Then we have P1 will be the pitch in vertical, and P2 will be the pitch in horizontal direction. Then we can have this. So this you can say this P2, or you can write it as total P2. So that is actually, if we have bolt here, then we can write P2 over here, or we can mention this directly, this as P2, where we have distance between the two bolts. Then we have, these are the bolts. Now what forces are acting on these bolts? Then we are going to get this as Fa. This will be due to axial force. And how we will get this value of Fa? So Fa, we can write it as Fa is equal to P upon number of bolts. So whatever bolts we have, from this we are going to get this value of Fa. Now we can have another value of the force in the member, which is due to moment, and that we can find Fb is equal to m into r upon summation r square. And r, that is the distance of the center of the bolt from CG of the bolt group. And then we are going to get FB value. How we will get FB? We will connect bolt centroid of bolt group to the center of this, and then force is perpendicular to this. Now why we have taken is downward? Because it will develop moment same as your moment due to load. So moment due to load is clockwise, so it will now develop moment clockwise about bolt group. So this is for this first bolt group FB. Now second bolt group, again we have to connect centroid of bolt group to the center of bolt and perpendicular to it. Again it should develop clockwise. Likewise we have to go for force which will develop clockwise moment. So we are going to get by all these, that is clockwise couple, and that will gives me FB as MR upon summation R square. And now here you can see what will be my resultant force on this. So this will be FA square plus FB square plus 2FA cos of theta. Now what will be cos of theta? So you can see this. So we have, this will be two components we will have. So we are going to consider, let us, this angle is theta. You have to decide, you will consider angle with vertical or you are going to consider angle with horizontal. So let us, we have angle with vertical, horizontal is theta. Then we have this as 90 minus theta, and then we are going to get this as theta. So we are going to get this component, that is FB cos of theta. And you are going to get horizontal component, that will be FB sine of theta. So now we are going to get these components. So you are going to get that vertical total load, if you will find, then you have, that will be FA plus FB cos of theta. And then horizontal you will get it as FB cos of theta. And then if we will find resultant of this, then we will get Fr, that is equal to root of Fa plus Fb cos theta whole square plus Fb sin theta whole square. So we have actually this as not cos theta. So we have, this is Fb sin theta. So summation Fy square plus summation F square. And if you will solve this, then you will get it as Fa square in root actually plus 2FAFB cos theta plus FB square cos square theta plus FB square sin square theta. And then this FB square, if we will take common from this, then we will get it as FB square. So we have FA square plus FB square plus 2FA FB cos theta, and angle theta we are with horizontal. So likewise we are going to get this value of FR, which is resultant force, and this value should be less than or equal to design strength of the bolt. So you have to plot these four parts of the sheet number 4. So thank you. We will stop today here only.